This video is presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika. Get ready to smile.
Hello, baseball fans. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Let's talk about these next four games against Philadelphia in Philadelphia, because that's always intimidating, especially after the past couple of postseasons. We're not even going to go down that road, but we all know what a challenge it is to play in Philadelphia around Philly fans. And, it's going to be a challenge this week, no doubt about it. Now, the stakes are a little lower. You have a long ways to go before the end of the season, a whole month or so before the playoffs. So it's not exactly the postseason feel that I think we're all going to be hoping for. But this is about as good as it gets for early September, late August, early September. This is about as close as it gets to a postseason feel for that time of year, because these are two teams who are going head-to-head in the division. It's a four-game series, and of course, the Braves are on the road in it, and it's going to feel like the playoffs. I think that everything's going to be magnified. Everything is going to be, circled out and looked at, and, by fans and by, broadcasters. I mean, this is going to feel, to me, like the postseason, and it should feel like the postseason. These are two of the best teams in baseball, and these are the games that matter, right? This is probably the first of the games, I think, that really dictate where you go come postseason, come, playoff time, right? For the Braves, you have the possibility of being a 7 consecutive division champ, or you have the possibility of maybe winning the NL East and having that spot in the postseason, because those two go hand in hand. But this is all about where the Braves will become the postseason. Now, a lot of folks out there, including myself, have flirted with the idea of, I wouldn't really mind the Braves being a wild card team based on how the past 2 years have gone. Maybe they'd be better suited as a wild card team to keep in rhythm and not take a week off and that kind of thing. And I'm all for that line of thinking. I don't even disagree with that. But I don't think that's where the Braves mentality will be. I don't think that's how they're going to think. I definitely don't think that's how Brian Snitker is going to think. They're going to do everything in their power to win the division. I find that I would find it concerning if it was anything else, right? On the outside, we look at it as, well, 2 years it didn't work out, and maybe we need to try for, just going as a wild card and hoping for the best, right? Hoping for a deep run as a wild card team like we have seen the Phillies do, or we've seen the Diamondbacks do. And all that's possible. I don't think that it's impossible at all. But I think that the Braves are going to pride themselves on giving it their all, giving it their best shot, and beating the Phillies for the NL East, because it's still attainable, which is hard to believe.
Are you ready to save big on a new Chevrolet?
Make your way to Glenn Smith Chevrolet. Choose America's #1 compact SUV, the Chevy Equinox, discounted up to $6,500 off. The powerful Chevy Silverados are up to $13,750 off. And the big Chevy Silverado 2500 HDs are discounted up to $6,000 off. Glenn Smith Chevrolet in Opelika.
Get ready to smile.
When you look at, again, what all the Braves have lost this year, we've talked about it extensively on this channel. It's really surprising, right? Because back in 2022, when the Braves were 10.5 games back, they hadn't lost all that much, right? In fact, they got stuff back. Ronald Acuna came back that year, and he wasn't all of what he would be in 2023, but he was still a stellar player in the outfield. And nobody was really banged up, all things considered. Not like this year. This year, I feel like if the Braves were fully healthy, the division would be an afterthought. I feel like, we'd be kind of back to where we were in 2023, or at least much more competitive throughout the year for the division. I think the Phillies got off to a really big lead early, but they have a tougher schedule down the stretch, and I think they're starting to see that. We talked about that earlier in the year. I looked at it and said, well, hold on a second, because we're getting all the West Coast teams out of the way now, and come August, September, the Phillies are going to have to face the Dodgers and the Padres and all these difficult teams, and meanwhile, we're going to be kind of relegated to the East Coast in large part, and then they're going to have to face us in early September, that being this week. So I kind of saw that coming, that that drop in play at some point, because there was no way the Phillies were going to keep that early pace that they were on, as good as a team as they are, which they are. But they were also doing that against a lot of teams who weren't that great, right? And that's not to take anything away. It's just to say there's no way you're going to keep the pace later in the year that you had early in the year. The Braves, on the other hand, got off to a slow start because they were facing a lot of those good teams. And, being the Braves starting out this year, doing all of what they did in 2023, you got to think that all those good teams had a target on Atlanta's back, right? They were looking forward to that series weeks in advance, because they knew, as well as we did, that, it was going to be a good offense, a tough offense, and they were going to be well prepared for it. And I'll say this, to me, a lot of folks have been saying, well, the Phillies are just better this year. I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all. They're a good team, no doubt about that. They've been a good team for 3 or 4 years now. They're still a very good team, a great team. I think they could win the World Series. That said, they aren't better than the Braves. If that's the case, why do the Braves have double the amount of wins head-to-head this year? A lot can change this week, I hear that, but I don't believe they are outright better. I think the Braves have had a tough time being consistent because, frankly, they haven't had a consistent roster. They haven't had consistent anything really outside of pitching, and that's mainly just in the starting rotation. The bullpen has had injuries to it, and really the Braves have been bleeding from everywhere. The Phillies, all things considered, they've had short stints of injuries. I remember one of the series we faced them, they were missing Schwarber, Realmuto, and Harper, but other than that, they've been pretty healthy this year. And right now they're starting to wonder, man, or that doubt's creeping in. And if it's not creeping into the players, which I doubt, I think it's definitely creeping into the fan base. For those of you that don't follow some of these guys, I mean, earlier on this year, they were kind of hard to watch because it was nothing but yelling and screaming into the microphone about how great the Phillies are. And now it's more yelling and screaming into the microphone about concern and, I know this team is good, but what are they doing? Why is Harper and Schwarber going 0 for 4 multiple days in a row? You're starting to see that, and you're starting, we're familiar with this, but you're starting to see a little bit of the fan base talk about maybe getting rid of Rob Thompson or questioning decisions he's making. Sound familiar, anybody? I don't think they are a better team. I will not sign up for that. I especially don't think they're a better team than what our opening day roster featured. And I'll stand by that any day of the week. And you think about that, man, the Braves roster opening day was substantially better than Philadelphia, at least when it comes to performing across 162. Forget the postseason. Day in, day out, that is a better roster. I don't think there's a question there. And you think about the fact that the Braves payroll is where it is and the Philly payroll is where it is. It's to me, Atlanta is a better run organization as a whole. I think Philadelphia has kind of pieced together some really good stars, really good pitching staff, but I don't think they've grown it through the organization. And to be fair, in recent years, the Braves really haven't either, right? What the Braves have right now is a product of what they had in the farm system a decade ago at this point. So it's kind of modern baseball at this point for the Braves. But the Phillies really kind of pieced this together. Very few of their stars are Philadelphia through and through. Not even Bryce Harper is Philadelphia through and through. That said, none of that matters this week, right? The Braves, this is where they're looking at it, right? They're looking at it going, all right, if we can get at least 3 wins out of this series, that'll give us 2 games on the Phillies, right? That'll put us at 3 games back in theory at the end of the series. If they can get all 4, they would be 4 games up on the Phillies. So all in all, you look at that and you go, man, we got a chance to put a real dent in that 5-game lead and really have a chance come the end of this month, being September. So I really think that the Braves are going to go all out here. I think they're going to give their best shot. One thing I am upset about, and I'm going to say this before we talk about the pitching matchups, I'm almost upset that we saw Chris Sale pitch tonight. Now, the Braves are doing regular rest. They're doing regular rotation every 5 days. Unless there's an off day, they're going to throw who they have. And I understand all that. I get why they did it. But I really just wish that Chris Sale would have one game against Philadelphia in this series, because we haven't seen Chris face Philadelphia since early this year. He pitched well, but we haven't seen that in a while. And I'll say this, I almost like that in a way. I'm kind of undecided on it, because with Chris Sale, if the Phillies have not seen Chris Sale all year long, maybe even since March, it's been a long time, they're going to be pretty blindsided when he's starting game one of the NLDS or NLCS and it's Braves and Phillies, right? If we are to face them at some point this year, which it could happen. If that is the case, then I'm all ears to hearing that. But in terms of winning the division, or in terms of, staying in the hunt for the wild card, wherever our mentality is right now, I am a little bit wishful thinking, in the sense of, man, I'd like to see Chris Sale on the mound, right? I like Charlie Morton. I like Reynaldo Lopez. I like Max Fried. And I like Spencer Schwellenbach. But the reason we signed Chris Sale was so he could face the Phillies and all the big lefties that they feature. There's no doubt about that. That is why we got him. That was the big appeal. That's why we heard about it. That's what made sense about the deal at the time. Now, he's had a great year, Cy Young candidate, probably the front runner still at this point. But the reason we got him was, okay, we got a good pitching staff. We want you for Philadelphia. And we've yet to really see that, at least very much at all. So let's talk about who we do know is taking the mound in this series. These are your probable pitchers. Charlie Morton will take the mound in game one against Christopher Sanchez. Sanchez, a little bit better ERA, 3.51 compared to Morton's 4.24. But really, in terms of their win-loss record, they're pretty even. Morton is 7-7. Christopher Sanchez 9-9. So 500 win percentage for both of those guys. And Christopher Sanchez has not really faced the Braves much at all. He's had very limited appearances against the Braves. Morton has got a decent opponent batting average, 284. But he's been kind of hot and cold. So with Morton, it's kind of what Morton are we going to get? Is it going to be the one who comes out and is lights out, or is it going to be the one who comes out and can't locate and leaves it over the zone and kind of gets knocked around? That'll be the play there. So we'll see what that's going to be come tomorrow. I'm interested to see that one, just to see kind of where Morton is, and if he can go one more time and really go against the Phillies here. Reynaldo Lopez, I feel really good about in game two. He'll be going up against Ranger Suarez. Reynaldo, since coming off of injury, has had a good start, has had kind of a rocky start, has had a really good start. So I think he's going to be well-versed at this point. He's got a 2.02 ERA, 7-4 on the year. Phillies hit their batting average against him is 2.45. Ranger Suarez, 2.82 ERA on the year, nowhere near where Reynaldo's is, but still really good. He's 11-5 on the year. The Braves hit 273 against him. I think that the offense can, if they can carry the momentum through game one, will look really good in game two against Suarez. And to be honest with you, I think they'll look really good in game one against Sanchez too, because again, he's got limited appearances against him. That could play to really either side, just an unfamiliarity with both sides, right? If you're a batter, you haven't seen much of him, but if you're the pitcher, you haven't faced him. You're only going off of what your other members of the rotation are telling you, what your pitching coach is telling you, what the analytics are telling you. And as a hitter, you're going in, you know what he's going to throw in certain sequences, but you haven't seen the way the ball moves out of his hand and that kind of thing. So that's going to be an interesting watch, in my opinion. Game three, this is going to be where it starts to get, a little bit of familiar matchups. We're going to see Max Fried versus Zach Wheeler. Max Fried had a rocky year, no doubt about it. 3.50 ERA, that is kind of uncharacteristic for Fried. He's 8-7 on the year. The Phillies hit 310 against him this year. Historically speaking, Fried's been fairly good. Lefty pitcher, they got a big lefty at batters as well. So I think, with him, you look for him to just build off a last start, because his first start back from injury was definitely, not who he is. I think he's going to have a good start, and that'll lead to good things for the Braves. Zach Wheeler, though, he's been really good against Atlanta his entire career. He seemed to have killed the Braves over the past few, especially in the postseason. He's 12-6 this year. He's got a 2.74 ERA. The Braves hit 2.76 against him. that's a game between Fried and Wheeler that I think what you're going to see is, if somebody scores 2 or 3 runs, they may win the game, right? It's all about what pitcher shows up, what pitcher gives the best start, and if the bullpen can hold it down, right? We've had questions concerning the bullpen, no doubt about that, but so have the Phillies. So we'll see what happens there. Game 4, Spencer Schwellenbach will be taking the mound against Aaron Nola. Now that may sound intimidating, but the Braves have beaten Nola this year. In fact, in his first start against the Braves early on this season, back in March, we got 6 runs on him. So that will be interesting to see if the Braves can muster up enough to score on him. He's got a 3.30 ERA. Schwellenbach, he's 5-6 on the year. He's got a 3.72 ERA, but that's a little inflated because Schwellenbach, for the first few starts of his major league career, was not who he is now. And I think we all have seen the development, right? His first couple of starts were rocky, but he pitched well, I think. It was more along the lines of he made 1 or 2 mistakes and they were sent out of the yard, right? But he's been able to limit those, and really he's become a solid number 5 pitcher. And I think one that may be around not only this year, but also next. I really think this is a guy who's not just filling in because Strider's out. This is a guy who has really taken the next step and done what they've told him and adjusted to the big league level and really found his way. And I think he's going to look really good in this game, I hope at least. Again, 5-6 on the year against Aaron Nola's 12-6. The experience factor, Aaron Nola is favored there by a long shot, no doubt about it. But if Spencer Schwellenbach can keep the Braves within striking distance at minimum, or keep them in the ball game, or limit the damage of the Philly offense, it doesn't really matter what Aaron Nola does, right? It's all about what Schwellenbach can do and what happens come when the bullpen enters the game, right? I expect that to actually be kind of a low-scoring game. I expect this series to be a fluctuating series. I think Charlie Morton and Christopher Sanchez, I think you may see an 8-game, an 8-run versus a 7-run score, right? I think, Reynaldo Lopez, Ranger Suarez, I think the Braves will win that one just because of who's on the mound. All in all, I think Reynaldo is going to come in clutch there. I think he's going to be really good. Probably go 6 with 1 run or less. I think Ranger Suarez is going to get beat up a little bit by the Braves offense. I think that, historically speaking, I think we hit him pretty well. So I just expect the Braves to be able to win that one 4-1, I'd say. Max Fried, Zach Wheeler. I'm going, if I had to give an advantage to somebody, I'd be going Zach Wheeler because Wheeler has had a more complete year this year. But if Fried looks like he did last time we saw him, then, it can really go either way. I think that's going to be a 2-1 game or, maybe even a 1-0. I think that's going to be a pitcher's duel and a really good one. We'll see what happens, but if I had to give anybody the edge, if I'm honest, I'm going Zach Wheeler. That said, again, if Fried can be the Max Fried that we all know, he can beat anybody on any given day. Spencer Schwellenbach, Aaron Nola, no doubt about it. Aaron Nola's got the experience. He's had a better year. 12-6 compared to 5-6. It's not even close. Aaron Nola's going to get the edge there. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if Spencer Schwellenbach was to go 6 innings pitched with no runs scored. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at all. He's been that good lately. So we'll see what happens. Is it ideal that you have a rookie going up against Aaron Nola? Probably not. I think we'd all rather see Chris Sale in that spot. But, it is what it is. And it's kind of how the cookie is crumbled. So we'll see what happens. I think at this point it's all about, for the Phillies, I mentioned that the Braves they're going to be looking for any way they can get 4 wins here, or even 3 wins here. They're going to look for a way to win this series. I think for the Phillies, they're just trying to keep the Braves at bay. And that mentality is going to play into the Braves' favor, in my opinion. I think that only helps Atlanta with their chances of doing some damage this series. Because if your goal is to just keep the other team at bay in the standings, or whatever the case may be, or just try to stay ahead, as opposed to you're trying to win and you're trying to, go on and do something, I think that mentality is going to play into the favor of the Braves.
Are you ready to save big on a new GMC?
At Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika, you can own one of the best-selling vehicles in the USA. The GMC Sierra pickup is discounted up to $14,500 off. The roomy and comfortable GMC Terrains are up to $8,250 off. And the GMC Acadias with 3 spacious rows and seating for 7, discounted up to $8,000 off. At Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika,
Get ready to smile.
Right now, if I'm picking anybody to win it, it's of course going to be Atlanta. And reasoning's pretty simple. They got the momentum. They look really good. They look complete for the first time this year. And I'll take my chances with the pitching staff coming out of a series where the offense scored 23 runs. So that's my reasoning. We'll see how it ages. This video has been presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika. Get ready to smile.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.